So when you're identifying your ideal prospect, you want to ask yourself this question: who do I want to do business with? And I mean that passionately. We're going to cover that question right now. Who do you want to do business to? So your business is your life. You spend a lot of time doing it. So we're going to go over some of the things to look for just on a personal life standpoint in your business. I'm going to go over some ideas as far as, red flags. We're going to go over a specific case of a bad client. And we want to talk about who is that decision maker as a human being behind their business and how that actually influences your life doing business with them and providing your service. And then I'm going to give my successful business profile. So from my experience, who are the best clients and what that profile is. We're also going to go over how and when to say no, right? Sometimes you just got to say no and get off the phone with that prospect, even if they're interested, because they're just not a good fit. So you definitely want to apply this training when you're on the phone with prospects setting up appointments. You want to apply this training if you're even pre-searching a prospect, and on Yelp, they have 30 one-star reviews saying this person's the devil. Yeah, don't even bother. So it's important because how you choose who you want to go after and who's in your book of business, and actually who's in that book of business, period, is going to greatly influence your life, the ease of your life. And let's just jump right in. So who do you want to do business with? Believe it or not, every prospect that turns into a client is someone with whom you'll have to continually communicate and work. Are there exceptions to that rule? Sure, but not that many. Ultimately, what that means is that you'll have the ability, and you do have the ability, to determine what your days and what your business life look like, and that could be heaven or hell. So to give you an example, I personally did not see the writing on the wall, and I made a big mistake. So I had a colleague from a past company who signed on a client at $5,000 a month on pay-per-click advertising. Sounds amazing. It was a great deal. Everyone made a big deal about it. Now, one thing that happened before the deal was that the prospect actually called him back 3 times after my colleague left him an initial voicemail. So the prospect called back from a voicemail, which is awesome, but he did it 3 times, which is pretty weird. Now the prospect, once he's a client, he would call him multiple times a day, and that's every day. So this is somebody whose job is just to sell. This client is calling him, asking him, oh, what about this and what about that? Which is really weird because he'd already set him up with a customer service person. So obviously this person, doesn't care or isn't paying attention. Now, at some point, the whole deal fizzled out. And, my colleague would go back in time and undo the deal, even though he made a couple $1,000 on it, because it was so hectic. Now, 16 months later, I give him a call back and I sell him another service, which I've regretted since. Now, what happened was this guy did the exact same thing. Why would he change? No one's asking him to change. Calls me back multiple times, asks to change things last minute, says he wants to do this, doesn't want to do this, doesn't know how to use a computer, right? He's got his stepdaughter doing things and then she doesn't use the computer. It's just a nightmare, and I should have seen it coming. So I ignored the red flags and I made a huge mistake. So the key thing for you is to not make those mistakes. Spot the red flags. Now I want to talk to you about the person behind the business now. So a business makes as much money as it makes, but there's an owner behind there. You want to ask yourself about the decision maker, or maybe the person you're going to be working with on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis. do I want this person in my life? Are they downright jerky at the outset? It's one of the ways you can figure that out. Does this person treat their staff well? Right? That's also another indicator. Do they have unscrupulous practices as a business? Right? Are they completely overcharging, or are they undercharging? Are they doing something with billing that's weird? Right? Trust me, if they're doing that with one business, they're going to do that with your business too. Another question is, would you choose to speak to this person again? Now, it's so obvious, but if you were just going to say, hey, do I ever want to talk to this person again? If the answer is no, well, don't do the deal. Now, would speaking to a prospect, right, this prospect that you have that you're considering 2 times a month, make your life considerably more frustrating and annoying? So, hey, maybe you don't hate them, but if you had to deal with them every other week, wouldn't that be really annoying, or would that be annoying? So another question to consider. And another positive kind of question is, would you go out and have a coffee or a beer with this person without vomiting into your mouth a little bit? Right? Could you have this beer, coffee, and just be cool? I would recommend that you would be cool with that and be honest. Now, as far as the successful business profile, I have 100% found that there is some sort of formula to this. So a successful business is actually most likely to become a good client. So there are actually 2 factors that make most small businesses successful. This is completely my opinion, although I think in your experience and most of my colleagues' experience, it is true, and it does ring true. So first, a successful business generally loves what they do, and they care about their customers and their employees. I mean, if you've ever talked to a business owner, sometimes these businesses are like their hobbies. Not in that it's casual, in that they love them passionately. They'll chat with you tons about it, and they care about their customers and their employees because they love what they do. So 1.4 doing business with that business is that they do love what they do. Now, another successful business profile point is that they actually look and operate at their business and themselves as a business. So this isn't, a casual relationship. This is a machine, and they operate it clearly with boundaries, with rules, different things in place that makes their business successful. So remember, they love what they do and they care about their customers and their employees. What that means is that they actually have fair pricing. That's typically an indicator of that. It's not that their prices are cheap, it's that they're fair. And they're truly obsessed with or in love with their work or industry, just like we talked about a second ago. And they like to make people happy and do the right thing. Businesses who want to do the right thing make successful businesses. And these successful business profiles, these people, they have customer loyalty. Their customers come back to them. There's no burn and churn and one and done. Now, in depth, what I mean by they looking at and they operate their business and themselves as a business, what that means is they actually know their numbers. They know their revenue and they know their profits. They operate their business logically. There's systems in place, there's schedules, there's procedures. And successful businesses generally have multiple marketing channels to gain new clients. So it's not just word of mouth, but it's internet, and even in the internet, right, there's SEO, maps, whatever it is. They've got reputation management. They've got a handle on their business. So when businesses don't meet these successful profiles that we've talked about, when they don't meet the basic personal requirements of being decent human beings and people you'd want to talk to, don't be afraid to drop that prospect, right? They may not be the right fit personally, right? You see those red flags. Or this is a great red flag. if they need your product to survive, man, any business that needs what you're selling them to survive, you don't want that weight on your shoulders, and they're probably not going to be the right fit. Now, another when to say no is if you got a gut feeling that's negative about that prospect. In business, you definitely want to go with your gut. So honor that. Here are some ways that you can actually say no. Hey, I really wish I could help you, but my past experience tells me, based off what I'm hearing from you, is that this service is not at all going to help you. Or, hey, thanks for your time. I don't think continuing this conversation makes any sense for us, and I'll be in touch if anything changes. Hey, you sound like a great guy, and I wish there was something I could do to help you, but right now, there really isn't, and I don't want to waste your time. So any of these statements or something like that is totally acceptable. So in summary, you want to close prospects that you want to work with for a long time, even a lifetime, right? Think about how much time you spend setting up consults and running consults. It's a lot. It's your greatest investment, so make sure it pays off. Make sure that your prospect operates their business scrupulously, right? That they have good practices. That's going to mean that they're going to have those practices with you, and you're going to enjoy working with them. They pay on time, etc. So successful businesses, remember, are going to make the best clients. And that's very important to know that. Now, at the end of the day, do not be afraid to close the door on those prospects that do not fit your standard. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I know it's challenging in the moment, but it will save your ass in the long term.